Hello, so continuing with our series of revisiting the augments in the game, we're going to be going over the prismatic augments, and I'm going to be ranking them from S to D tier. Usually I rank these, like, it's part power level and talking about the different ways these augments are applicable for different comps, but the way you should also look at it is like a frequency. A lot of times when I talk about really good augments, those are augments that are good in many spots that you can often click whenever and not get punished. That's going to be your S tiers and your A tiers. B is usually like where an augment falls if it's particularly balanced, or if it's good for some comps, not good for other comps, then it's kind of in that average case. And then C and D obviously being ones that I would try and avoid. Not to say that any augment as on its own is completely bad and horrible, more so that if it's just how many spots does it apply to, and if it applies to many spots, usually it ranks a little bit higher for me. But now that that's out of the way, make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see the silver and gold versions. They're on my channel already uploaded. And then obviously if you want to see some gameplay, I have another daily channel, which is my Fenruba Gaming VODs, which you can see in the description. But anyways, let's get into it. So this is no longer in the game. I don't think Hero arrives. So let's start with Exalted Adventure. I think Exalted Adventure is B tier. I don't think it's broken or really crazy. Basically, you get a bunch of 2 costs, like you get 3 2-cost champions, and then you have to 3-star 2 of them, and then you get like this huge cash out. The cash out is pretty good, and a lot of times it could be like a game-winning scenario if you hit the cash out with Exalted Adventure. The problem is you're forced to play around some of the 2 costs that you get. You need to 3-star some of those units, and they might not fit in particularly into an amazing board. In the past, I put this as like probably lower, like either C or D tier. But in this case, I think it's a lot better, because the 2 costs got balanced quite a bit. There's a lot of them that are pretty good that you can play around in many different spots. You know, like there's lines with like Janna and Katarina, like the mentors, or the or otherwise, like even Lux has like a little hero fruit, or some setups with like Jinzhao, for example. Xayah is good in spots. Even like, you know, playing around like some of the other ones, like Vi with some other Juggernaut builds or Juggernaut frontlines is also fine. So in general, I feel like there's more 2 costs since the last time we made this video that are like, you know, quote unquote playable or rerollable that actually can do something. The thing is, none of these 2 costs, besides maybe like Janna on the current patch, is like crazy strong, like Janna Kabuko reroll. So it's not a matter of saying like the 2 costs are good, therefore this augment is good, because then it would be like really broken. It's more so having an out that is not just playing one of the contested lines is usually pretty good. This gives you a way to play something that you get a huge power spike for, because obviously after you hit your unit, you get this huge cash out that's going to give you a lot of value. And some of the pairs that they have on Exalted Adventure are pretty good. The bigger problem is that it's not A tier, S tier, is because I think you're still forced to play around certain units. Also, a lot of these units need very particular fruits. For example, even if you hit Janna on Exalted Adventure, it's hard to play her, because usually the way that you decide if you're playing Janna or not is not whether or not you have a Janna. It's usually whether or not you hit Veteran on her, because if you put the fruit on her, she has, I think it's her lowest probability fruit is to hit Veteran. So you really have to hope that you hit Veteran, or else you're going to have to use your fruit removers, and then if you don't have Veteran, the whole comp falls apart, right? So usually you check that first. And in this case, it's the opposite. Here, it's like it's giving you the unit that you have to roll first. So it's like stuff like that that makes it a bit clumsy. So I put in B tier. I think it's average. I think if you think that you can reroll it and you want to take it as an out, like it looks like a messed up lobby and you want to have like a line that you don't have to worry about other people with, then take it. But otherwise, you won't really miss it if you skip over. It's not like that crazy. At what cost? This one's hard for me to rank. Later on, if we have to spread out the tiers a little bit, this one I might drop from B to lower. But basically, this one instantly puts you at level 6. So usually you're taking this to play very aggressive tempo, right? You're instantly level 6. You're hoping to win streak on stage 2. You have access to some better shops. You can maybe hit some higher cost units a little bit earlier. And it could also just put you in a spot where you're just able to push levels a little bit more effectively. Because jumping to level 6, it also gives you like a huge influx of econ, basically, the way you think about it. The only problem is, as a huge downside, you can't pick future augments. The augments, you can get really, like, you can get hoed on the augments, right? Like, things can go really wrong. You can get stuff that just is awful. So it can put you in a really bad spot. The only reason that I don't put it lower is because I think on current patch, at least, or the way things kind of shaped out with fruits, playing from a disadvantage or playing from a loss streak is very risky and very bad, because there's so many like niche situations where people just win out because, like, you know, fruits just spike powers if people don't hit fruits versus you hit fruits versus you don't hit fruit versus you hit fruit. There's too many variables that it makes it very uncertain that you can have like a spot on perfect board and you'll still go 8th later because one person will be way stronger than you. So lose streaking is not something I like. I like to play with advantage and have a lot of HP on this set, and it's something that persisted throughout all of the patches on the current like set, right, on set 15. So something like this that gives you some early advantage, that's why I'm not putting in C tier, because even though it's a little risky and it's a little bit awkward, it might not fit with a lot of the play style of this current set, it does give you an advantage typically, and that's enough often to give you time to like figure out your board, maybe tempo, but also just not die instantly later, so it's not that bad of an option. Belt Overflow, I put in A tier. We'll talk about the Prismatics as we go along. A lot of the Prismatics are very particular. They give you a certain stat that is either good on your board or not good on your board, so it's either completely useless or it's useless. So looking for Prismatics where you could just look at it and be like, that's useful to me, is rare. And Belt Overflow is one of those that's good almost all the time. Now, I don't know if it's S tier because it technically just gives you 5 components. It's not that much of a power spike. There are some boards that it is more broken for, but we might move it up. We might move it up to S tier if we have to separate some of the tiers a little bit. But let me explain. Belts are very flexible. You can make frontline items, you can make backline items. So getting a bunch of belts, it's not even that big of an issue because it can work with AP, AD, utility, frontline, backline. It's fine. In the worst case, you just get 2 free more mogs if you just don't, and you play around a belt, which is totally fine. That's a great spot to be in. You get extra HP for all of the belts, which is great. And just having a bunch of HP, even if you're just using it for frontline, is good on almost all the front lines for all the comps, right? HP works really well. It scales units really well. It allows them to soak up a lot of damage. So this is just, in general, good. It's very rare that you want to skip this or roll past it because it's a good default option. So it goes in A tier for sure. Birthday Present, we're going to put in B tier. With Birthday Present, it basically just comes down to if you're in an econ encounter or not. This is another one where you can play very aggressively. You get a lot of upgrades. You'll be really strong. Ideally, if you high roll some of your upgrades, you can have a really strong directional board. But typically what you're going for with Birthday Present, if you're basically what you're trying to do is make it to level 9. You want to be in a spot where you can fast 9, because as soon as you hit level 9, you'll get a 2-star 5 cost, and then you can structure your board around that unit. That's usually how things go. Unless you high roll a 4 cost that you really like, then you're fine, because then you just play around the 4 cost that you get. Typically speaking, though, you want to be able to make it to level 9, and you want to have a lot of econ to always be pushing the advantage, because if you have econ, then you're going to be able to push levels, and if you push levels, you'll continue to be stronger than your opponents, right? That's where most of the value of this augment comes from. So when do you want to play it? Scuttle Puddle, Crab Rave, Braum encounter where you get a lot of gold. Any encounter where you're getting a lot of gold early, or if you just like happen across a lot of gold early from like some loot orb drop or something, then this is an okay augment to click. If you don't have early econ, nothing that I said applies. It's all bad because you won't be able to push levels, you won't be able to make it to 9 fast, you won't have a good time playing your comp. You're basically just hoping to high roll on Birthday Present, and then things become really bad, and then it's not as good of an augment. But that's why it's in B tier, because it's like situational. Blazing Soul, this is another one. This is like what I was talking about when I was talking about Belt Overflow. It gives particular stats, right? Ability power, attack speed. It can be good on Akali, right? Because she has scaling by other means, right? Attack speed helps her to cast, and ability power is great because she already has damage amp and crit from her abilities. It's good on maybe like Yumi boards, maybe on Rise, but that's about it, right? There's a lot of lines, like obviously if you're not playing AP, this is not that great. If you're playing an AD line, it's not going to be that great because it's giving you ability power and attack speed. If you're playing like AP lines, it's like only some of them want it. So it's very particular. So this is one of those prismatics where you see it and it's like, does this work with my board? Yes or no. If it's yes, then you click it. If it's no, you skip past it. So it's in that B tier. It's not something you can always click. It's something you just have to like, does it work or does it not work? Yes or no. Bronze for Life is a similar way. Now, Bronze for Life, I think, is a little bit more particular. In the past, there was a Bronze for Life board. There's like different variations. Like there's obviously the ones that go into level 9, right? The level 9 Bronze for Life boards where you're playing around like, you know, Varus or like Braum and like these crazy lines. But there's also the level 8 one that was pretty popular, like way at the start of the set. And that was with All Out Cassante with Akali. Now, on the current patch, Akali's a lot better, so this is a more favorable line, but All Out on Cassante is a little bit risky because you can't tailor fruits like you used to be able to, and then you would just, like, build a board around this. A lot of times it's like, you know, you insert, like, Mighty Mech and Rise, so you get Mentor. Usually it's, like, this, Jarvan, wherever he is. Right, it's like something like this, roughly. I think you have one extra. This is like level 8, and as you can see, you just light up the left side of the board, and then you level for Juggernaut Lee Sin. Right, this used to be like the old board, and you just have like infinite Bronze for Life value, and you also have multiple threats. Because Bronze for Life, especially the Prismatic, it gives you damage amp and durability, so it's really good for frontline melee style users because it can make use of both of those stats. Excuse me. But additionally, with Bronze for Life is that it's really dependent on you having multiple threats. If you only have one carry on your team, Bronze for Life is pretty shit because you're just buffing one unit. The fact that you're buffing everybody, you want to have multiple carries. So having like these crazy boards where multiple things are doing damage, that's what's really going to tie this together and make an insanely powerful, strong board. Obviously, there's other variations as well. I'm just showing you like the lower cap one. This is like you're stuck on level 8 and you just roll a 0 on level 8 style board. But there's other ones, like there's a 4 Mentor with legendaries that used to work really well. Lots of different boards, right? The problem is because it's very particular, I don't know if I even put it in C tier, because if you're not getting a lot of traits in, this really feels underpowered. And on the current game especially, there's a lot of units in the common boards that have ways of getting damage amp, so it also feels a little bit worse in that regard, right? Even the board that I showed you, you're playing Strategist and Akali with Supreme Cell, so they already have damage amp, so it doesn't even feel like that incredible, so to speak. So it's a little bit weird. If we have to rearrange stuff, we might move it down, just because it forces you to be very particular, and the particular things that Bronze for Life is good with aren't very easy to play, if that makes sense. Like, it really cuts your ability to play boards a lot compared to some of the other ones. Next we have Build-A-Bud. Build-A-Bud I think is A tier. You get a 3-star, 1 cost, which helps you to have advantage early, right? You're strong early. You can often win streak on stage 2. There's also win conditions with Build-A-Bud because there's multiple that work really well, right? If you look at the 1 cost Kale. Now, I know I played Kale and I went bot 4 with Build-A-Bud Kale, but that was because I was in a really messed up game. I had over 9,000. I'm pretty sure it's bugged because I got only HP with it, and I got 1 attack speed, 1 AP thing, and 10 HP gains. But usually you hit Kale, you just roll for over 9,000. It's usually a guaranteed first. Lucian is also good, and the mechs are good because you can play around mech and have tempo. There's lots of other options as well, like the crew members. What I'm trying to say is that you either play tempo with it, where you can just play around the unit and have like a good time, or you hit a win condition. So because of that, it's really good. Now, it's also considered to be technically low cap because you're basically just getting 9 gold of a unit plus 8 gold, so it's like 17 gold for a Prismatic, which is a little bit less than some of the other things are offering. But the main thing is that because there's fruits in the set, when you have a low cost unit, you can get either a scaling fruit or you can get very particular fruits that make them really broken, right? I gave you a couple examples, but that usually puts you in a much better spot, which makes these 1 cost reroll things or 1 cost reroll lines, or like these instant 3-star 1 costs a lot better. So it's definitely in the A tier because especially on the current landscape of the game, like I said before, you want to play with as much HP as possible because everybody can hit Exodia, right? Somebody can rip a portable forge on 4-2 and they just hit something shitty and you just instantly lose because they just got something, right? Like, it's like that. Or the same thing with fruits, right? If you miss a fruit later, or if they hit a fruit later, your board is just unable to compete with them anymore, and you did nothing wrong and you hit all your unit upgrades, but that's how much the set can sway things, right? So having an advantage, having HP early, no matter what you get from Build-A-Bud, even if it's not a win condition unit, being able to play around something that gives you like a little bit of HP, gives you like a little bit of wiggle room, gives you some econ as well because it starts you off with 8 gold as well. Those are things that you're gonna want to have. So it's definitely like something you consider. Yeah, I should probably just click this and just call it a day, put the fries in the bag, play for my 4th, right? That's kind of how it looks, which I put in A tier. Buried treasures as well. Items are pretty important. They're also very particular. Buried treasure gives a lot of items. It gives six components basically, right? It is very good. or does it give 7? I forget. I always forget to count. But either way, it gives like pretty much the most components you can ask for a Prismatic. The thing that's great about that is it allows you to be really flexible with your item slams. You can slam items really early, play really aggressive, get that early HP lead, but you can also take your items and you could like greed a little bit more for BIS or like get items that work really well with your units. For example, units like Akali, they really want double Nashers. Units like Jinx, you want to have particular builds because you want your items to synergize with the fruits, right? So a lot of times you're forcing towards a certain fruit that you want on your unit, and then in order to have that work out, you need to have the items that cohesively build with those fruits, because there's like very particular fruits for very particular units. That's just the way set 15 has been rolling out. So something like Buried Treasure that gives you much more variety of components, you can often use that variety of components to not only be very aggressive and strong early, but also have the good setup for your units later as well. So it just definitely goes in that A tier. It's a solid option, and it's applicable in most situations. Any comp will love it. Call to Chaos, I think, is B tier. A lot of times you take this, there's some of them that are high roll, there's some of them that are absolute shit. Like here, we can go on tables, and I'll show you what they look like, right? Sometimes you just get a lot of gold, sometimes you get a lot of XP. This one sometimes is hit or miss. You get a 3-star 3 cost. There's the multiple emblems. There's the multiple lucky items. Like, some of these are really good, right? Like the Thieves Gloves, the triple snipers, triple hull crusher, the lucky items. These are all great. Some of these ones, they could sometimes be good, sometimes not. Like, having a lot of econ is great, but it could be like, you know, depending on your circumstance, they could feel grief. It's usually like you're just hoping not to get the 3-star 3 cost. This one, unless you high roll, is usually like, oh great, this went very poorly for me, right? Because you're basically getting significantly less gold for your Prismatic, and you're often not able to play around it. Emblems could be hit or miss, depending on your spot. But that's what I mean. It's like, some of them are good, some of them are bad. It's mostly just like rip it and hope that you hit something, but there's a lot of times you can get punished for it, especially if you don't need any of these, or like, let's say you don't have a sniper's focus unit, let's say you don't have a hull crusher unit right now. It's like stuff like that. It can be like a little bit of a grief, so it goes in B tier, because it's obviously that the whole point of it is like the risk reward thing, right? You're trying to gambit to see if you hit something crazy. Caretakers, I think I used to put in A tier. I'm not sure where I put it now. Basically, you have to level, and you get a lot of value for it, but it's basically just giving you it gives you good value, right? It gives you a radiant item, it gives you component anvil, and a completed item. So you get 3 components and a radiant. It's very good value for a Prismatic. There's other Prismatics that all they give you is a radiant item. The only difference with Caretakers is that you have to level in order to get those things. So especially if you're like trying to play around a certain comp, it might be really awkward, because number one, you have to make it to level 8. I think before they used to give you the radiant item on level 7, and I liked it a little bit better because it's easier to get to level 7, and then you can like structure your items based on what your radiant items are. Because you have to choose one of 5, you're not like upgrading one, you're not like making one. You can sometimes get griefed by the radiant item, and then the augment feels a lot worse, because like you have to push aggressive tempo, you have to get to those higher levels. You need to have the econ to do so, but then you also need to like then hope that your radiant item is good. At least when it was like level 7, it was like, I thought it was a little bit better, but it's definitely B tier, right? This is like on the cusp of A tier, right? If we separate some of the things in B tier, right, it will be closer to A tier, which we might put it up there, because it does give a lot of value. It's mostly just like you need to have the econ. It's another one like birthday present. If you have econ, it's a lot better. If you don't have econ, it's a lot riskier, because if you're not hitting those level 4, level 6s early enough, then you're getting so much less value in your mid game that you're usually just sacking compared to other people, so then it becomes really bad. But if you're able to make it to 4, make it to level 6 very fast, then you get a lot of value, and obviously if you make it to level 8 eventually, then you can spike later. Coronation, this one, basically you get like the item, but that gives, like, you get a fawn or a tactician's crown. Fawn, force of nature, it's an old name that it used to have, but it basically gives you +1 on your team, right? You get to put 1 extra unit on your team. In this case, it also gives attack speed, attack damage, and ability power, so it kind of works like a makeshift item as well, which is great. If you're playing a comp where you want to have extra space on your board, fit an extra unit, you can't go wrong. It's a pretty good click. It's a pretty good click. It just depends if the adding of the extra unit is impactful or not, because some boards are complete, either reroll lines or non-reroll lines. They're complete with their board as is, so it's kind of just comes down to if you need it or not. Cybernetic Uplink, if you spread out your components, you basically give HP and mana gen to all of the units on your board. This is like a little bit awkward because you always have to split your items, which can be difficult if you don't have a lot of items. This is a lot better in like heavy item encounters like Scuttle Puddle, Crab Rave, because you're going to get a lot of extra items through those, so you can spread out your components a little bit more easily. Other than that, I think that it's just particular if you already have like your 3-item carry, 3-item tank, and you see Cybernetic Uplink. It's like, okay, that's pretty good because all my future components I can just spread out and I can get a lot of value out of this augment. Expected Unexpectedness, I think they nerfed it a little bit. I don't know how good it is. I used to put it really high up. I want to check just in case. I think they nerfed it a little bit, but I think it's still good. Masterwork, this on stage 2. So most of the time you're getting 8 gold on stage 2. Stage 3, a lot of times it's 10 gold, 2 gold and an artifact, 15 gold. No, it still looks okay. And then stage 4, it's either the 5 cost, the gold, or the other stuff. I think it's still good. I'm going to put it in A tier because it still seems pretty good. But basically, the way this works is that you basically have 3 times that you roll dice, similar to how the dice augment worked in the gold augments. But basically, now at the start of the next 2 stages, so as soon as you pick it, and then the next 2 stages, so it would be stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4, you roll the 3 dice, and then you get some sort of reward. The reward is obviously dictated by the dice roll that you hit. Obviously, the higher the dice, the better the dice roll, the more crazy your cash out's going to be. But in the average case, you're usually getting a lot of econ. For Prismatics, there's not many that are like really great for econ. But also have the flexibility of being able to play around like different styles or different things. Expected Unexpectedness is like a great econ generation tool, but it also has the potential to give you like a lot of good high rolls. So in the worst case, it sets you up well to play like around a 4-cost board or even a reroll line. But in the best case scenario, you also get like game-winning cash outs from it. In general, the average case, right? I'm not talking about the high roll case. The average case, it's very good. Or typically considered to be very good. So a lot of times if you're looking for something, you usually just like, okay, this is a good option I can default. There's nothing particularly wrong with it. I'll take it and I'll either start generating econ for myself and be in a good spot, or I can play around one of the higher reward cash outs if I hit them, and then potentially win streak off of that, which gives you a lot of flexibility and it puts you in a pretty good spot for whatever you want to play. Final Ascension. This one I really don't like, but we'll put in B tier for now. This one's better than the gold and the silver versions. I think there's only a gold version this set. But basically you get flat damage and 15%. And then after 15 seconds, you increase it to 45. It's really good if you have a comp where you have an impenetrable wall of a front line. Think like 6 Juggernaut, 6 Protector, stuff like that is where Final Ascension is going to be better, right? If you're playing Kog'Maw Protectors or Kog'Maw Bastions, those are the lines that you want to think to yourself, yes, Final Ascension is great here because you're going to make it to 15 seconds. Now, the thing that's good about this one is that it gives you damage amp even before then, so it has some value, but for the most part, you're basically playing down an augment for the first 15 seconds. So if your fight is ending in 15 seconds, this augment's fucking useless. It's absolutely unclickable, it's useless, it's bad, you just don't want it on your board ever. If you're making it consistently past 15 seconds, you want to make it past 30 seconds. You want to make it past 15 seconds with enough time that your units can still clutch, right? It's not like, oh, I made it to 16 seconds, Final Ascension is good here. It's like, no, you have to make it to like 20, 25, 30 seconds in a fight easily. That's why you need those intense front lines. If you don't have an insane front line, most of the time the fight is over in like 15, 16, 17 seconds. If you have an insane front line, then you can actually get value off of it, and then it will actually work out to be a decent augment for your spot. Something else that I always mention as well, these type of augments lose a lot of value as the game goes on longer, right? Later in a game, people will have 5 costs, they'll have 3 stars, they'll have everything upgraded on their board. And then the fights will not last as long because there'll be so much damage swelling, so many items, so many big carries, so many big damage dealers that typically these things might end up being pretty bad at those points as well. So for those reasons, I usually put in C tier. But there are comps like Kog'Maw that really love it. There are comps that do play around really thick front lines. Even like mech board sometimes can be good with Final Ascension. So we're just going to put in B tier. And then like I said, at the end of the video, we'll try and rearrange some of them just to spread it out a little bit. But I just want to put them in here for now because I think they're all around like the situational tier, which is usually where B is. Flexible, I think, is actually good. I think Flexible, how broken is it? Flexible is really good. So getting a random emblem is great. So Emblem, and HP you can play tempo with it. But the thing with flexible that makes it really broken right now is that it is so good with Mighty Mech. So if you don't know, there is a particular fruit. Let me just find it. Power-ups. Oops, sorry, I'm adding a bookmark. Let me control F properly. Pilot. Mech Pilot. This number 2, Mech benefits from Pilot's trait. So if you play Mighty Mech and you put in 2 Mech Pilot, I talked about this on the Mighty Mech guide as well, if you want to check it out on my channel. The traits that you put on them, if you put a bunch of emblems on these units, you basically make your mech have all the traits that you give. So flexible, ironically, nothing is sacred anymore in the game of TFT. You don't play flexibly. A lot of times you just force Mighty Mech with it. You force Mighty Mech and you put all the emblems on a random unit, on the pilot units, and then your mech becomes a fucking giga nuke demon. This is so strong that you're usually not all the time, but you're often stable with even 5 Mighty Mech, which is crazy because 5 Mighty Mech is so fucking dog shit that it's what makes the comp hard to play. It's like you have to play it from an econ. This actually makes mech playable as 5, and then 7 it's like game winning. So it's actually that crazy. Then of course, if you don't want to do all that because like, you want to actually play flexibly, I think there's still use cases where you can play flexibly. But it gets in that A tier because there is like a win condition that is pretty achievable with this augment, in my opinion. So it gets like a little bump from not being just like the, if you have a spot for it. This is more so like you can actually do some nasty things with it because of those interactions. Going long, I think this one's like around here. I might move this one lower as well. Not gaining interest and then you gain a bunch of XP. This one's pretty good to like aggressively tempo level. However, you can often fizzle out pretty hard with it. I think that in general, this like works out. Like, I don't know exactly where it works out because it's like hard to say, but a lot of times it's like you like it when you have it and nobody else has econ, if that makes sense. Which is hard to like gauge and hard to judge. But it's like if you're able to just push levels and everybody's broke, like you have just such an advantage because you will easily just make it to level 8 like instantly, right? Like you'll just have a great time. It also works pretty well with like heavy econ encounters because you can just instantly like teleport to level 7, level 8 and just start like upgrading your board. But obviously if other people are keeping up with their econ, the interest will eventually come to bite you, right? Because you're getting 4 XP per round, which is basically 4 gold per round. If other people are making 5 gold per round or even more than 5 gold per round, eventually you will be in a deficit with this augment. So that's why you really need to play from an advantage, and you need to like, that's why what I'm saying, like when other people are broke, then the average case is going to be different, right? If you're starting the game off and everybody's making 50 gold of interest and you're just getting 4 XP per round, they're going to be able to match your tempo very soon, very fast. On average though, 4 XP per round or 4 gold per round is going to be like better than in most cases the amount of interest that you're making. So it's good. It's an all right augment, but that's what I mean. You want to really take it when like, you are either broke and you want to play very aggressive, or if like it gives you an advantage over your lobby, which you can look, right? You can just wait and then click it after. And if nobody clicks an econ augment, you just click this and you just say, okay, GG. I'll be the one that hits the units first. Greater Moonlight is no longer in the game, so we can't really talk about this. I'm pretty sure they removed this one because it was too bad. Hard Commit. This one I think is in B tier as well. This one's a little bit awkward. There are game-winning ones. Basically, you get a random emblem. The emblem that you get will be one that pertains to a 5-cost unit, of which they are pretty good. There's some of them that are just game-winning, like Crystal Gambit could be game-winning. Edgelords can sometimes be pretty good because you get the Edgelord emblem and you're going to get the Yone. Obviously, like Sorks and Soul Fighter, you have potential. Starguard is like a win condition as well. Varus, like Wraith, is pretty good. Sniper, maybe less so, right? There's some options that are good, but a lot of times the way that you're looking at this is, will I get a 5-cost that I really like? And the 5 costs right now, they're all pretty good. So guaranteeing one of the 5 costs is pretty good. And you can often do pretty well, right? The start of each stage, equal to the stage. So you have to basically make it to stage 5 in order to get your 5 cost. So it's a little bit awkward. It's kind of like hit or miss. It's a big gambit, right? If you hit something good, like you hit an emblem that's nice, like Star Guardian or Crystal Gambit, you're really happy. If you hit something that's like kind of like wonky, that's like hard to play around, for example, like I think you could hit like Bastion or something, for example. That one's actually pretty good. You can just play Bastion reroll. But like, I'm trying to think of one. Like, one that's like, you know, you're not stable in your early mid game, and it makes things really awkward. But there are really good hits, right? Even like a lot of the emblems are enablers. Like Soul Fighter emblem is also good in a lot of situations, right? There's like good options. It's just a matter of like the risk of if it coincides with your items or if it coincides with your current board and your current units. It's more of like a that thing. So it goes in B tier. I don't think it's like broken, because it's a little bit slow in how often it gives you the stuff. Having the crown not in the game. Hedge fund, I don't know if I want to put in C tier or whatever. This econ is so important right now. I think that this is like kind of C tier, low key. I think that it's so hard to judge this one. I'm gonna put in C tier. I'll make this our first C tier. We have to separate some of them. Hedge fund basically just makes you greed a bunch of gold, right? Your max interest is increased to 10. You get a huge influx of gold at the start of the game. It's very good, don't get me wrong, for making econ, but you're basically taking a prismatic and you're only getting econ, while other people are typically getting some other benefit. Here you're often going to be lower level than everybody else because you're greeding your econ to 10. You're going to be lower HP than everybody else because you're lower level and you're not buying units and you're making econ intervals, because that's the whole point of hedge fund. So a lot of times you're going to be playing from a disadvantage, and playing from a disadvantage is really bad on the current set. That's why I'm putting it in C tier. I think that you really want to try and take stuff that makes you strong early, so that you have some wiggle room to play around all the variance that comes with the fruits and the current balance of the units and stuff like that. So I don't prefer something like hedge fund. I think it's worse than the other econ generation ones, because a lot of the other econ ones promote, like, you know, aggressive play or getting early HP leads by being higher level and stuff like that. Now, the thing that hedge fund, the reason I'm debating whether it's B tier is because obviously this sets you up for fast 9 ideally. The thing is, like, usually if you try and fast 9 with hedge fund, unless you have another econ generation or unless you have something else to help you with, you're often gonna be like 9 with 1 life, which is gonna be really risky. Mech becomes playable. Mech is one of the high cap level 9 style boards that you can win with, but besides that, it's very risky. So because of the risks involved with it, like I was explaining, C tier. Next we have hold the line. This one's pretty good with certain, like, you just have to make use of it, right? Your back row gains ability power and attack damage for every unit in your front row. This is really good. Like, I think, like, hold the line, like, there was one line that was really great. There's, like, Zyra, it's, like, 6 Bastion, Zyra TF backline, right? Like, that is, like, broken with this, because, like, you have so much AD, AP, TF scales like crazy. That's, like, an insane fast 9 board with hold the line, right? But whenever you have, like, a crazy front line that balances with the backline, or if you have just a balance of a good amount of frontline and backline units, this augment's pretty good. Like, it's also good in some mech lines, right? Because, like, you just get a lot of value because you have all the extra units and stuff and summons and whatever in the front line. So there's stuff like that. It says each champion, though. I don't think the mech counts, but you know what I mean, right? Just having a bunch of having a mixture of frontline and backline could also work with it. It's just that because it splits ability power and attack damage, you have to be, like, careful about the comps that you play, in my opinion. But it is a lot, right? If you compare it to something like Blazing Soul, right? Blazing Soul gives 35 ability power. If you have 4 frontline units, you have 40 ability power. Now, obviously, this gives attack damage, not attack speed, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you can make use of the stats, if you have a mixed damage style of board, or if you have units that scale really well with both the stats, then this is a good option. Invested and Invested plus plus, I'm gonna be honest, I think these are better than, these might be A tier, but it's really biased towards the current patch. Just the amount of gold that you get with these is so much. But I'll put them in B tier because they are in their core just econ augments, which are not always the case, right? Like, you don't necessarily need them all. Honestly, okay, we'll put them in B for now, and then I might move them up later. Okay, so invested, you basically get a bunch of gold, and then you get rerolls for every gold above 50, so you can get 3 rerolls per turn. And then invested plus plus is usually like a bailout. You get it on stage. This is only offered on stage 4, and you get 45 gold, and it still has the same bonus effect. But a lot of times you're clicking invested plus plus as a bailout, and if you're clicking invested plus, you're using it to try and, like, tempo level to level 9, or to, like, have, like, an insane roll down level 8, because you're gonna get 26 gold, which is a lot of gold, and then you're gonna get these extra rerolls as well. In both cases, I think they're really good bang for their buck. I think that with Prismatic lobbies especially, if you're not in an econ encounter like Scuttle Puddle or Crab Rave or Braum encounter, there's not many Prismatics that are good econ. And econ is really important, especially if you're playing around 4-cost boards. So right now, where the current landscape of the game is a couple 4-costs that are very heavily contested, right? Akali, Jinx, and all the other 4-costs are like kind of shit unless you had a 5-cost. It's just like kind of the way it is. Or reroll lines. In both cases, these augments are like giga bailouts. The only other line you can play is like Mech, which is really reliable, but that's like a level 9 board, or that's like a fast 9 style board, which these augments are also really good for. So that's why I was saying they might move up to A tier, because it's more of like a current patch thing, but otherwise it's more of like you take these as like either a bailout or a setup for later. But I think I'm just gonna put them in A tier for now, just to spread it out a little bit, right? I think they're still situational. I would normally put them in B tier, but I think just because of like current patch and the way the game kind of shaped out with set 15, like, you know, I think that they're good enough to, like, they're so important. Like, usually when somebody has invested, they usually hit their board and you're just like, god damn it, they're invested and now I'm 8th. You know what I mean? That's what it kind of feels like, at least to me. So I'm going to move them up. Investment strategy, you basically gain extra health on your units. Great with reroll lines. Once again, one of those augments that's gated by being in an econ encounter. If you have good econ, you can get a lot of interest, right? Because it increases your max interest to 7. It's kind of like a mini hedge fund thing. But then you also get permanent health on your units. This is really great. Like, for example, if you're playing like Bastion reroll, they have an infinite armor. Now you make them have infinite HP, right? It's usually good in those type of lines. It could be good in lines where you're going to keep units on your board forever. So like, for example, Mech, right? With Mighty Mech, you can just like start stacking Illusion and Ascena, and then you can get absorbed by the Mech later anyways. It can be good in those lines, right? But in general, you just need to have a lot of econ, because if you're not gaining the HP starting on stage 2 and you don't have a max interest instantly, this augment doesn't do anything, right? Isekai, I think, is still good, even without the Hodge. I'm going to put it in A tier. It's hard to say. So Isekai, I think, is good. It used to give an item as well, but this guy is just so fucking annoying, this Echo with the stun, that I think that this is still like a really good option. The only problem is that a lot of these lines aren't that playable now. Like Prodigy is not very common. Sorcerer is not very common. Strategist is great because it fits in a lot of boards. But in general, I think having an extra unit on your board that just does a whole board-wide stun is so disruptive that I think that these are still A tier, even though they nerfed it like 100 times. So I still put them all up here. Level up, I think, is B tier. It's the same thing, right? This one, if you have a lot of gold or if you have an early econ, you can basically just tempo level. This is like the fast 9 augment. But a lot of it is just you need to have the gold to push the levels, right? And that's like the main thing. But generally good. If you need econ, it's a great option. Living Forge, I think, is either A tier or S tier. We might move it up after. It might be S tier, actually. There's too many artifacts that are win conditions, and this kind of sets you up to have like a lot of those win conditions enabled. Obviously, like, there's still things like Manazane, there's things like Blinding Jewel, there's things like what's the other ones? All the Kog'Maw ones. A lot of times you just rip Living Forge and just force towards Kog'Maw, because if you have there's so many that are good on those lines that you can like just take anything and you'll be fine. It also unlocks the potential of a lot of units. So if you take Living Forge, you can play, like, for example, Blinding Jewel Karma. All of a sudden, Sorks becomes broken again, and you can have, like, a potential to, like, play around that, especially when it's, like, a lot more narrow of a meta right now. As the set has been progressing, it's been feeling more narrow and narrower as, like, units become optimized with fruits and other stuff like that. We'll see if things change in the future, of course, but Living Forge right now, it's like very rarely do you want to ever skip it. It might be S tier. Like, I'll put it up here because I think compared to these ones, I think it's just like crazy strong. Lucky Gloves, I don't like these at all, so I'm gonna put them in C tier. You get a Thieves Gloves. Basically, these gloves will give your champions ideal items, which is great. So you get like you get proper items on your units. But usually Thieves Gloves works with the combination of getting a bunch of Thieves Gloves. Now, before they used to give 3 Thieves Gloves, or sorry, 3 Sparring Gloves, so it was like easy to make 2 of them. If you don't have gloves, or if you don't have a Thieves Gloves already, gloves are pretty important. There's not many lines that you want to take an early Thieves Gloves or slam an early Thieves Gloves. A lot of times it's mostly like you know, you're using those to make crit builds because those work really well on a lot of units. With the Lucky Gloves, it only gives you a Thieves Glove. So basically, you're just taking this and it's giving you 2 items. 2 completed items is only 4 components. It's significantly worse than the value of a Prismatic. And it also means that your lower cap on those units, right? If you put a Lucky Gloves on your main carry, your main tank, they're only a 2-item tank, not a 3-item tank. So you're basically taking this to itemize a secondary or tertiary carry. It's usually really great if you're playing around like 5 costs or like extra units on your board or stuff like that, because it's an efficient way to itemize those extra units. So you're taking an Augment. Like, it could give you early tempo because you get 2 items on a unit. That's great. But like, other than that, it really doesn't have a use case. Now, if you have multiple Thieves Gloves already, then you're getting a lot more value, because now, you know, if you have 2 Thieves Gloves, that's like the equivalent of like 4 components, right? Or sorry, 8 components. So it's like a lot better. But you need to already have a Thieves Gloves, or you need to be building towards multiple Thieves Gloves. Either way, I think that you're better off with other augments in most cases, because these, after nerfs, like repeatedly, like these used to be really good augments. They're a lot worse now. Now, C tier doesn't mean that you never click them. There's obviously cases where they're a lot better, right? If you have, like, you know, the double radiant item gloves, or if you already have Thieves Gloves, or sometimes with Pandoras, if you're just making a bunch of Thieves Gloves, then they're a lot better. These augments could be Exodia. You can win the game because you have Lucky Gloves. But in general, it does not give you a lot of value up front, and then you gotta hope that you hit the rest of the stuff in order to make these actually have value on your board relative to other Prismatics. Max Cap, this is like the Giga Bailout. I don't know if I put it in A tier or not. It's so good when you need it. So Max Cap basically just gives you an influx of gold, a fawn, and it basically makes it so if you're playing any sort of reroll line, you can just like instantly hit everything. It's really good, and it often guarantees you a top 4. It's basically like a bailout augment. Now, you don't need to take it, obviously, because you can cap higher if you already are going to hit your units and stuff. But it's just like the bailout augment. I'm going to put in B tier, because right now, I don't think there's many rerolls. If it's a reroll meta, then this is like, you instantly click it all the time, because you just win. But like, right now, I think like, a lot of the reroll lines, you want to be able to get the extra synergies in, so it doesn't feel as nice. To click it, like it's like you're basically accepting a lower cap for your comp to make sure that you hit. That's basically what this augment is, which I think a lot of the really good reroll lines want to be able to push those levels to hit those higher cost units. Mess Hall, I'm gonna put this in D tier. I don't know if this augment is bugged. I've never seen this shit work or do anything. I see it as an instant skip all the time. I don't understand what it would ever be good for, and even when people show me or talk about lines where it could be good, it looks like a grief. So I don't know what it is. I'm gonna put it in D tier because, like, of everything, I probably will never click this, right? I have never clicked it. I probably never will until something indicates that it's okay. You know, in the past, there used to be like, oh, it's like good with Ashe, or it's good with this, or it's good with that, and it really fucking isn't. Right? Like, I think everybody kind of discovered that this really sucks. I think there's maybe some like meme Twitter builds and like some Korean technology I've seen where Mess Hall like does something, but it's so niche, it's so rare that it's like, just take anything else, honestly. Because it's like, it has the same problem as Ascension, where you have to wait several seconds before it even does anything. But then the thing that it does, it's like you deal attack damage as magic damage. But then the projectiles aren't even that like common, and it's only on auto attacks, so you need to have an auto attacker. But I think there's like a cooldown, because it doesn't look like it just scales their damage infinitely like as you would. Like I said, when Ashe was good, it wasn't even good on Ashe's comp, or it wasn't that good on her comp either. So it's like, I don't even know who it's good on then, because that's like the only unit I can think of that would probably want something like this. Now obviously, like I said, there's other builds or all other stuff I've seen, but in general, this is one that I would actively not really want to play around. 9 lives. It got nerfed. I don't know how good it is now. We're gonna have to check this one, because I have not seen it since its nerf, actually. They removed the radiant item, right? Yeah. Before, on your last life, it would give you a radiant item, which made it really strong. Now it doesn't give you the radiant item, so it's a little bit weird of a cash out. So before, this used to be like Giga Broken. It was very clearly an A tier augment. But now, without the Radiant item, I don't know if you could win out easily enough. Typically with 9 lives, you really want to play around comps that have a win out potential, because you get your cash outs, you're really strong, then if you start to lose rounds, it's fine. And then usually you would wait for these last 2, and I think it used to be Artifact or Radiant item, and now it's just like Components and Lucky item. And I don't think this is enough for me to think that it's like a giga win out. I can see myself losing and not top 4. Before it was like almost guarantee you a top 4, because with all the other stuff that you got, and the fact that you basically win any tiebreaker with 9 lives, if you ever lose a round, you don't lose based on HP. There's no tiebreaker. So if you die at the same time as somebody else, you would also win the tiebreaker. So it's almost like a guaranteed top 4 because of the final cash out. Now I don't think it is anymore. So I think if you have a good angle for a reroll line, I think 9 lives is great. Or if you have a really strong opener that you know that you'll be able to get to like a lot of those cash outs without being at death's door instantly, then I think that it's going to be good. So it's in B tier as situational. I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's like in the A and S tier of what it used to be, if that makes sense. 1 buff, 2 buff, it's basically like Econ, right? This gives you a golden dupe. The way you should always treat this is kind of like an Econ augment. If you need a red buff, it's great. If you're playing a comp that likes a red buff and a blue buff, it's even more great. But a lot of times you're basically getting 4 components, the champ duplicator, which kind of works like Econ because you can use it to duplicate your unit and to hit a little bit earlier. So if you need all of that, it's good. If not, it's useless. Pandora's, I usually put these augments lower, by the way. I'm not a big fan of these because I feel like they hurt your max cap. I think Pandora's is B tier now, right? Usually I put in C tier because I don't take it very frequently. But within the current set, right? The current set, Pandora's is a lot better because, like I said, you need to have particular items that unlock the potential units because you have the items, the fruits, and the augments. They all have to work in tandem because things are really optimized because the fruits really sway the way that the unit functions. So you have to make sure that it's not a matter of like, oh, I'll make a different build and I'll take a different fruit. It's like, no, there's like a couple fruits that are really good on each unit, and there's a lot of fruits that are absolute dog shit. So you have to play towards the fruits that are good and hope that you hit the fruits that are good, or else your unit is going to not even be able to compete against other people's boards. That's kind of how the set kind of is playing out, and I'm hoping it will change. If it changes, then Pandora's won't be as important, but it definitely is important. There's a lot of units that need very particular items, like a Kali, Jinx in some cases. Jinx is more flexible, but Jinx you want to optimize if you can. Poppy if you're playing best defense, right? Stuff like that really starts to matter. So Pandora's, it gives you a Radiant item. It's just a little bit slow, right? If you don't get a good Radiant item, you either have to settle for well enough or you have to let it roll. So now you're playing down an augment, right? As your items are rolling on bench, you're losing rounds because you're not able to slam your items. You're greeting for Biss. It comes down to a lot of RNG. And sometimes you just hit your items and you have Biss and you're like, yep, this was a great choice. And other times you just lose every single round because you're waiting for your Pandoras to roll, and then it doesn't roll into the items that you need or the components, and then you just like lost like 20 HP for no reason when you could have just taken an augment that made you stronger, right? It's like stuff like that where it becomes like awkward. That's why I don't like them typically, but because of the importance of the effects and the way that the game plays out, it's definitely in B tier. But for me at least, I'll never really rank it much higher than B because I think it's situational, right? You either have to get bailed out for your items or you're playing a comp that needs very particular items. Typically in TFT, what you want to do is you want to look at your components and you want to play something that involves those components, and you want to structure your items in a way that makes sense, right? I made stuff like item guides on this channel, right? And I talk a lot about this, right? Based on your items, how to kill components, how to work with those components in order to make a board that makes sense based on what you were offered in the game. So something like Pandora's in those cases is just a worse augment because if you're able to play around your components and you have a spot for your components, then you don't need to rearrange your items. You just take the right items on carousel, you build flexibly, you work it out, and it's fine. So that's why I don't put it like here or here, because I don't think it's broken. It's not like a necessity. It's like a nice to have, and it can be a bailout, but it's not like I click it instantly all the time because it's broken, which I think these ones I click more often, right? I would rather take something like Buried Treasures than Pandora's because I get way more value in terms of components, and I usually will have enough components that I'll be able to make my perfect items anyways with something like that. Right, that's the way I look at it. Of course, if you disagree, these are the ones that always cause discussion because I think, you know, the ability to basically quote unquote choose your items is something that feels really powerful. But as you get better at the game, the time that you waste waiting to pick your items with Pandora's often is a very large deficit that is overlooked, if that makes sense. Prismatic Destiny, I'll put in A tier. Used to put these in S tier. I still think they're pretty good. They made it a little bit better. Before Prismatic Destiny, you can get griefed, like you can get mess hall, but some of the combats are no longer offered on stage 2, which is nice. So Prismatic Destiny is usually augment plus gold. The gold usually makes any of these augments, even if they're less good, it's gonna make them better because the 5 gold is part of like the balancing of it. So usually this is like a pretty reliable click. It's just like whether or not you can risk it, because some of them are going to be a little bit harder to play around. Prismatic Pipeline, I think, is B tier. You're basically choosing to sack the rounds, and this amazing loot doesn't feel as good anymore. I think they nerfed it, and like some of the cash outs before were a little bit better. So since then, I kind of don't like it as much. But obviously, if you're already sacking, or if you're trying to play for like a giga, like, you know, because you get a lot of econ with Prismatic, this can be good to set up for a fast 9, or if you lack econ, this can set you up for a really nice fast 8, right? Stuff like that. If you need the type of cash outs that it gives you, it's really good, but it's situational because you're not always like instantly clicking. Prismatic Ticket, same thing. If you're playing reroll, it's good. It just gives you free rerolls. If you're not playing reroll, it's a little bit less good. Protagonist, I think, is still broken. A tier. You basically get a hero augment and a 1-cost champion that's going to keep dropping it to you. I'm pretty sure they're going to nerf this next patch, where it's going to give you, it's going to be like, it only starts giving you the 1-cost, like, after a couple turns. Like, there's going to be a turn delay. I don't know how strong it will be if there's a turn delay. That's going to be, like, a play-by-ear type of thing. I don't know for sure. But right now, the hero augments are all fine to play around. All the 1-cost heroes are, like, perfectly acceptable. And being able to play around this, it's very similar to, like, Build-A-Bud, right? Build-A-Bud gives it to you up front. But this one, it gives you the hero augment as well. So you can cap out really high later. You can obviously hit a 4-star version, which can give you a good win out potential. But also just sets you up really nicely, right? You often can win streak on stage 2 and stage 3. You're really strong early. It puts you in a good spot, especially in the landscape of the game, where I say, like, you know, you really want to play from ahead most of the time. Pumping up, if you need attack speed, it's good. A little bit slow. I don't particularly like it this set. But, you know, it's fine. B tier if you need attack speed. Quality over quantity, I think, is also B tier. Usually there's lines that really like this, but I think the way fruits and units have played out, quality over quantity isn't that popular in my opinion. Before, it used to be really broken with Star Guardian, and it used to be pretty good on Soul Fighter, but now you really want to have your 3-item carry 3-item tank that you really don't want to spread out your items that much, right? Like when you think about Star Guardian, it's like Jinx is doing everything, right? So it's like, it doesn't work the same way that it used to in terms of like the way the comp functioned. So like now it has less of a use case. You could still use it for tempo. I don't know if it's C tier because it is quite good in terms of tempo, right? Because just having a bunch of radiant items at the start of the game is going to be like broken, but it's hard to say. So I'll put in B tier because I still think it's like okay. Radiant Refractor, these are like the average ones, right? Radiant Refractor, Roll the Dice as well. Right, Roll the Dice gives you a Radiant Thieves cause. Usually just use it for tempo. So if you want to play tempo, you can take it. Or if you have somebody to itemize, you can take it. Radiant Refractor, Masterwork Upgrade, and a Component Anvil. This is basically like like, these are a lot better this set, by the way. I might even move this one up one. Radiant Refractor, I might put in A tier. Just because it's something you can take no matter what. Right, just getting a Radiant item on your unit is usually pretty good. And with the fruit, like with the stockpiling of fruits, like having a Radiant item on a unit and then having the unit fruited, they become like a giga carry, right? That's like part of the interaction that the set has with the fruit. So giving them more of what they want in the form of a Radiant item rather than a real item is really good this set. So I find that with Radiant Refractor, where you can pick your item with the Masterworks upgrade, I think it's like one of the things similar to like some of these other ones like Belt Overflow or Buried Treasure, where I was saying like you can just take it no matter what and you'll be pretty happy with it. I feel the same way about Radiant Refractor. And the Masterwork upgrade really gives you like good options. Like you can definitely choose the item that you need to do, which I think is a little bit better. Radiant Relics might also be here. I'll just put it next to it. This one's just like you choose 1 of 5. So you don't get the extra component. So, you know what? I'll put this one in B tier. I think you can miss on this one. I think this one's more situational, right? Radiant Refractor, you get to basically choose the item because you get a component anvil and you already have your items that you're building. So it's like a little bit better. This one just gives you an upfront Radiant item, so you don't have to make an item and then refract it. So it's basically like +1 component. If you think about the difference between this and this is like +1 component, but you don't get to pick. So you could sometimes get like, you can just get dealt bad cards. You can just get dealt dog shit, and then it just feels a lot worse. So I think there's a little bit of a separation. I definitely prefer this one. But, you know, if you ask people like hyper optimized, this one's technically better because it gives you more value if you're more flexible. But, you know, it is what it is. Shimmerscale used to be broken. I think it's B tier now. You get a Mogul's Mail and a Gambler's Blade. Both of those are not very good late game items. And Mogul's got nerfed, so it's not that good. But this is a really good way to generate a bunch of econ if you have an early because it starts with a Mogul's Mail. If you have an early opener where you have a strong front line, you can generate a lot of gold with the Mogul's Mail. And then if you pair that with a Gambler's Blade, you can put yourself in a spot where you'll have an insane amount of econ going into stage 4, stage 5. So just consider it if you need a lot of econ, if you have a good spot for it. It used to be like really good with like crew, for example, because Malphite was a great Mogul's Mail holder and Gambler's really good on the backline units. Stuff like that. If you have like a frontline unit that just won't die ever, give them the Mogul's Mail, they'll generate gold for you. They're not dying, so Gambler's Blade will ramp up. Really good for those reroll lines, because if you spike early and you roll for the reroll, then you're going to be in a good spot. Shopping Spree I think is pretty good. This gives a lot of gold. I'm actually going to put in A tier. I think it's like pretty powerful. Right, you get so many rerolls with this, and it gives you the starting gold. I'm down to, like, I think, like, I need to make a little bit of a separation with some of the tiers. I think Shopping Spree is really good, right? Because, like, if you think of it, it's your level +1. You can use those rerolls early rather than later if you really want to. It gives you the 2 gold, so you have a little bit of a way to generate some econ early. You can make an interest interval, potentially. But a lot of times, like, you know, if you count it up, right? If you level to 4, 5, 6... 7, 8, right? What is that? 4 plus 5 plus 6, 15 plus 7 plus 8 is 30. Plus 1 on each of them. You get like 30 rerolls or something. Is that right? 4 plus 5 plus 6 is 15. Plus 7 plus 8 is another 15. Yeah, it's like 30 rerolls. That's a lot. That's like 60 gold. You know what I mean? A number of reroll equal to your level +1. That's not even counting the +1, right? You get so much value off of it. It's like an insane amount of rerolls. It's like, it doesn't sound like a lot at first because it's like it's not in terms of gold, it's in terms of rerolls, but it's a lot. Like, I'm pretty sure every time I click this, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of gold. So I'm usually shocked with how much gold it is. It might be less than what I'm counting. I don't remember getting 30 in my shop. I remember being in like the 20s, so maybe I'm miscounting somewhere, but it's still a lot, no matter what it is. Where are we? Spoils of War I think is C tier. I don't think you get enough reward for it. Basically, you're getting loot drops if you're stronger than your opponent, but you're taking a Prismatic that is dedicated to that, which means that you are going to be down a Prismatic combat or down a Prismatic in terms of power relative to your opponents. So in order to generate that gold, you really have to have a really insane spot, or sorry, in order to generate that difference in power, you need to have a really insane opener or a really insane spot in order to get the value out of the Spoils of War. In my opinion, it's never worth it, because a lot of times, even if you're strong on stage 2, you can easily fall behind on stage 3, stage 4, and then you're just down an augment, basically, is what it feels like. And I don't think the rewards are good enough. The rewards get better over time, like they get better later in the game, but the problem is, it's like, a lot of times when you take Spoils of War, it's because you're strong in the early game. So in order to continue that streak, you need to kind of get lucky and continue to high roll, because a lot of times what you get in the early game isn't enough for you to keep your advantage into stage 3, into stage 4, and that's where you really want the Spoils of War procs to be. Now, it is obviously a lot better with reroll lines. If you play a reroll line, then you're going to be strong in your mid game. You farm more with Spoils of War, and that can get the ball rolling for later. But it's so particular that I think you're better off just taking something else that powers you up in a different way. So I put in C tier. Obviously, if you want to take it, go for it, but it's risky. Sponging, I put it here. Basically, it transfers an item over to all of the other units on your board. Up to 6 champions with 1 or fewer items will get a random item. There's some Exodia situations with this. Obviously, like, you know, if you have like the Spark Augment and you transfer a bunch of Sparks to everybody, or the Bramble Augment and you transfer a bunch of Brambles to everybody. But in general, I find that it's not like crazy good unless you have like an insane mixture of frontline and backline units that love to have the same item. So for example, if you're playing like 6 Juggernaut, that's really great, because if you have 6 Juggernaut, you transfer Warmogs to everybody, like, you know, that's a lot of value. Or if you're playing Protectors and you transfer Warmogs to everybody, right? Those are the situations where I think it's a lot better, but that's usually like the particulars where you have like an insane front line, so to speak. Starter kit, we're going to put over here. It just gets you like started with a 4 cost and 2 1 costs. You basically get free 2-star 4 costs by the time you get to stage 4. However, I think the 4 costs are really particular to play around. I don't think all of them are very good. But it's hard to say because like this could be really good. It also gives you a lot of gold. It got buffed, right? So it's like just a matter of like what you hit and if you can play around it, because a lot of the lines are good from tempo. So you're really just hoping that you get something you can tempo with, because if you can tempo with it, you'll often be in an okay spot for it. So I put in B tier, but it's also very risky. Please note. Sword Overflow. This one, if you need a bunch of BF swords, it just gives you a bunch, so that's great. Tactician's Kitchen, you get an emblem and a fawn or an extra, like a Tactician's cape. It's all right. It's a little bit forcing, and the emblem could dictate a lot, but I'll put in B tier because, you know, getting the extra slot on your board is pretty valuable anyways, so it's not like C tier in my opinion. Golden Egg, C tier. Takes too long to cash out. A lot of times by the time you get your cash out, you were better off just being stronger with a different augment, in my opinion. I talk about these a lot, right? These win more kind of augments are not particularly great, in my opinion. A lot of times it's a meme and you can easily just throw a game because you're down a Prismatic, right? For 11 turns, you are down a Prismatic. So you're trying to win rounds being down a Prismatic. Doesn't matter how strong your board is. If somebody gets a Prismatic combat, they're probably going to be stronger than you. So a lot of times you can misjudge, things can go wrong. Obviously, if you're playing against a bunch of glue eaters, you can cash this out and win for free. But it's something that I would very rarely take and I would almost always avoid. The times where it's actually the correct decision to take this is a lot rarer than you might think. Definitely C tier. Tiny Titan isn't in the game anymore, but Tiny Titan Plus is in the game, I think. I think they removed this one. They kept this one with the most recent patch. I think this one is like, it's kind of weird. I think that it just doesn't give enough gold, if I'm being honest. So I'm going to put it in C tier. I used to put it higher because it has the win out potential with Crystal Gambit. But I'm going to be honest, I feel like it's just such a grief every time I take it. So like I'm changing my opinion. I'm putting it in C tier. So before it used to give more gold and then it was broken. But now it gives 15 gold and 1 gold every turn. So you're basically getting 2 player health and 1 gold every player combat. The 2 player health only really matters if you're playing some sort of Giga win out comp or if you're trying to fast 9. But if you're not in either of those spots like Crystal Gambit or fast 9ing, the player health really doesn't add up to being worth it. Because like at most, you're going to get like 1 extra life, but you're basically taking a Prismatic that is like +1 life, like +1 total life in the game, and basically a gold augment worth of gold, right? Because this is like raining gold minus, right? It's basically like raining gold. So it's like, I used to think it was good because of the player health, but the player health really doesn't matter because like you're lacking so much with this augment that a lot of times the extra life that you generate from it, you would have earned anyways if you just took a stronger augment. You know what I mean? So it comes out to like net 0. So you're just taking like a mid econ augment is what it feels like. So I put it in C tier now. Tomb Raider, same thing as like Golden Egg. If you have a spot where you could actually reliably cash out Tomb Raider, let's say you look, like I would take Tomb Raider if I look at my opponents and one of them looks like they're on death's door already. Like if somebody's already about to lose the game, it's like, yeah, of course you click Tomb Raider. They're dead in a turn, you get an item, you're instantly ahead. You know what I mean? But like this is like a win more type of thing. If you're so far ahead that you're waiting for other people to die to get value out of a Prismatic, you're probably better off taking another Prismatic that just gives you value right away and just keep your advantage instead of sacrificing it for the sake of hoping that you get the other stuff. The spots that it's good in, it's similar to like Egg, right? You just have to be so far ahead that you know that you're going to hit this cash out. And it's just like, you know, an easier way or like a turn your brain off kind of way of winning the game. But it's not something you're going to take commonly, so it's going to be in that C tier. This is no longer in the game. Trifecta, if you're playing around 3 costs, it's going to be good. Upward Mobility, I think it's like maybe A tier. 2 health and 2 free rerolls when you level up. I think this is just good econ. I think Upward Mobility is good. I'm going to put in A tier. You basically get easier leveling. You get 2 free rerolls every time you level up. So if you level like 4 times, you get like 8 or 10 rerolls. So that's like another 20 gold on top of that. And then plus you get the 2 health every time, which is pretty substantial because the HP can make a big difference in a lot of rounds. I think it's one of the better econs. I'm going to put in A tier. But this is another one that you want to play from a lot of econs. If you have a lot of econs, you just push the levels instantly and you'll just be really strong. Wand Overflow, if you need a bunch of wands, or sorry, you need a bunch of rods, B tier. Wandering Trainer, I think is B tier. It gives a lot of gold now, so it's really good for setting up early econ, but then you're just hoping that you hit some emblems that you really want to play around. But it can also give a lot of good direction, so it's pretty good to take if you're not sure what you want to click. If you need crit, Water Lotus gives you crit. It also gives you mana, so it could be good in some spots. Worth the wait. I used to put it lower because I didn't like the 2 costs, but I think the 2 costs are in a better spot right now, so I think it's worth clicking. I put in the same spots like Exalted Adventure. If you're in a spot where you're like looking for a 2 cost to play around, Worth the wait 2 is pretty good. Obviously, if you hit one of the big ones that gives you a good reroll line, like a Janna, for example, you win the game. But I don't think it's A tier. Because the problem is, a lot of the 2 costs are still not that good on their own. As a solo carry, in my opinion. Like, some of them are good, but they're not, like, that good, right? Because you're basically trading a Prismatic for, like, hitting a reroll unit a little bit earlier. So it has to be one of the juicy ones. If it's not a juicy one, often you're just using it for, like, tempo. But at that point, it's not, like, crazy, if that makes sense. So I would be cautious about it. I think that it's a little bit particular. So I would put in B tier. I wouldn't put in A tier. Unlimited power, last one. This one's like, to me, this is just a worse version of Wand Overflow, because you basically get like the same things, but it's more particular. Like, you get a Rabadon's, Delizard Rod, and a Morello. So basically, like, you know, you get essentially the same thing as Wand Overflow, but it just makes the items for you. I don't even know why it's in the game, if I'm being honest, when you have Wand Overflow. But the only thing that I would say is that this one gives a magnetic remover. So if you're in dire need of a magnetic remover, like, maybe it's a little bit better. Or if you're in dire need of anti-heal, I guess. But whatever. Alright. Let's move around some of these things. What do I want to put up into S tier? Because I think Living Forge shouldn't be alone. I'm going to move up. I don't want to move up Protagonist. I think I'm going to move up Buried Treasures. And I'm going to move up Shopping Spree. No, that seems like clickbait. I don't want to clickbait you guys. I'm going to move up. I really don't think any of these are S tier. Maybe Belt Overflow. I think I like it like this. I'll put these 2 in S tier, because I think Buried Treasure is just so good on the current patch. And Living Forge is like win condition. For the B tiers, are there any I want to move up? Let's do a quick scout. Okay, final Ascension, I'm going to move down. Egg, I think I'm also going to... do I move Egg down? I think Egg is just so fucking bad. Okay, well, let's continue with these ones. I think all of these are, like, solid in terms of B tiers. At least to me, they're all solid. I think I like it like this. And then I don't really want to fuck with moving this down, because I know people are going to complain. But I'll put Egg here. I think it's pretty bad. 11 turns is so much of a grief. This shit, like, it's so hard to cash out unless you're in a Glue Eater lobby. Like, I'm convinced if you ever cash out Egg, it's either because, like, you're the 1% game, you're the 1 out of 100 game, where you're, like, a Giga winner. But if you cash this thing out more than once in every 100 games, I swear to God, the people in your lobby, I don't care what the rank is, the people in your lobby are just, like, not paying attention. Like, they're sucking their thumbs. Like, I don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? But Best Hall is just so much worse. I'll just put in C tier. Okay, I think I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this right now. Like, some of these, maybe you can argue up or down. A lot of them you can argue up or down. Like, maybe Buried Treasure, that's maybe a me personal thing. There's a couple of these that are really broken in certain spots, like Max Cap and Sponging. But I think with my explanations, I think this is coherent to what I believe. Or what I do in a game. So I'm okay with this. But anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully that was fun and informative. Have a great day and see ya. Bye-bye.